Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Q&A with Angelina. I'm doing just a little bit casual this time. Got on my positive vibes shirt, so I'm sending positive vibes your way. Today we're going to answer another question that came out of our Breaking Mental Change Facebook Live session on May 16th. And the question came from the discussion around identity. So we were talking about identity and how it impacts your emotional well-being. And there was conversation that your identity comes from your experience, but there was also conversation about your identity and you being predisposed or born with a certain skill set or mindset. And so the question that came was, isn't there a difference between your nature of who you are and your giftings and callings? And so we're going to talk about that today. So let's go ahead and get started.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something.
Okay, let's get into the conversation about identity, because the question really stemmed from the panelists talking about identity being more of things that you're naturally inclined to. And the question really is that really your nature, though? Isn't there a difference in your nature, in your identity, than what you're just inclined to do? And the question is, your identity is both, okay? Your identity is your characteristics, your nature of who you are. It's also your skills, your knowledge, your wisdom, your values. And so when we get into, in your giftings, let me not forget that, it's your giftings. So it is some things that you are predisposed to before you ever hit this earth, because let's remember that God made us in his image, in his likeness, and he had a plan for us before we were even formed in the womb. Okay, so if he had a plan for us and we are his children and we're made in his likeness, that means that we're going to be predisposed and we're going to have some skills or knowledge or giftings that God has given us. That's why each one of us have different giftings, and there's things that we are just naturally inclined to do that other people cannot do. But our identity is also tied to our characteristics and our nature, and the nature of who we are, and the nature of who God created us to be. However, our upbringing and our experiences and our relationships and things that we go through can sometimes alter the nature of who God created us to be. And so when that does happen and we find ourselves emotionally intoxicated and we are finding ourselves not really being rational and not really being just an overall good person of walking in our purpose, then we have to get back to the nature, back to the characteristics and the nature of who God created us to be. Okay. And so that we can be able to walk in our purpose. And as the panelist said, Cephas, when he was talking about that, is that once we go back to what we were originally designed to be, what we were originally created to be, and we walk in that purpose, things just happen, great things happen, and things begin to just work out for us. So if you find that you're not happy with your nature, then maybe we need to do some self-reflection and some self-discovery and start getting closer to God to find out, who really am I? Who did he create me to be and design me to be? How am I supposed to be acting? What is the nature of who I am? And so when you find out who God is, and I'll say it again, when you find out who God is and what he does, you will begin to discover who you are and what you can do, because again, he made us in his image and his likeness. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Q&A with Angelina. I hope you've enjoyed this. Drop your questions down in the comments if you have any questions or comments about identity. And don't forget to follow us at Becoming a Being on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and also on LinkedIn. Thank you. See you next time.
Every single day, I'm gonna make